Hello YouTube, it's William. Welcome to another Whittle Talk. I read a saying the other day that I kind of thought was very profound. And this is probably an old saying, but I just found out about it. As usual, I'm late to the party. But the saying was, don't tell a man he can't do something and interrupt him as he's doing it. I thought that was profound. You know, in this community, we always hear, "Well, you can't do that," or "That's unsafe," or "That knife won't do that," or "That axe won't do that," or "That tarp won't do this or that. And you can't set it up this way." Well, a sure way of getting somebody to do something is tell them they can't do it. If I can see how to get this needle threaded here. There we go. So, I think the gist of this Whittle Talk is when we're first starting out in a craft or our job or whatever we're doing, it's always best to take the advice of people and do it their way for a while. But once you start doing a task, then you kind of make it your own. I mean, you learn the little tricks of the trade, if you will, and learn how things are done, and get your own little style of doing things, and find out what works for you. And I think we forget that sometimes, that what works for us may not work for the other guy. You may be in the desert, and he may be in a tropical rainforest. One of my favorite sayings is, "Well, you can't do fine carving with a large knife." Well, tell that to the Borneo peoples in the jungle. I mean, they've been carving with machetes for centuries. Or a machete is it not as safe as a small knife? Well, depends on what you're used to and what you've been trained on, what your experience is. You hand somebody in the tropical rainforest a small neck knife, and he probably don't know how to use it. He'll probably cut himself before he would using a machete. So it's all relevant. It depends on what you're trained with, what skills you've attained throughout your life, and your talents. I mean, your talents. We hardly ever talk about talents, but it depends on your talents as well. For instance, some people could thread this needle with no problem at all, but I'm having a difficult time. Can't have anything to do with age and eyesight, but just something to think about. I mean, I'm always hearing that well, I mean, that doesn't work for me, and you can't do this and you can't do that, and well, maybe you can't, but that person doing it probably can. Another thing is I mean, I've been kind of torn because of this new steel. I mean, I have been told, and I've said it before, I've said it many times, and that carbon steel is king. I've always liked carbon steel better than I did stainless, but that doesn't mean that something new doesn't hit the market that takes care of the problems that I saw in stainless steel. And this CPM 154, folks, is the real deal. I've been fighting with myself about transferring all of my personal knives over to CPM 154. And I'm thinking to myself, why not? And I keep fighting with myself about, well, that's not how it's supposed to be done. You have to have carbon steel. So yeah. And I'm thinking to myself, why do I have to have carbon steel? See, I'm questioning it. And I think we all should question things. Because you wonder if some of the old patriots, patriarchs, I guess you'd call them, like Nesbitt and Sears and all those guys, if they had a quality stainless steel, would they have used it instead of a high carbon? I think they would have. I think that they would have adapted to their environment and used the best tools that was available to them. Now, a lot of people say that carbon is king because you can use strike sparks off the spine with a rock. Well, I guess that's true. You can't do that with a stainless steel blade. But I mean, that would entail that you messed up somewhere and lost your kit. So, me personally, I have 2 or 3 kits. I have some in my pocket. I got some in my pack. I got some in my wherever. So I'd have to lose 2 or 3 kits for that to happen. I mean, anything is possible. But again, I mean, how many different ways can you prepare? And out of all the years that I've been in the woods, I have yet to lose my kit. I guess it can happen. Murphy's Law will rule at some point, but I mean, there's other alternatives of starting fires without just sparks. I mean, you can do rub sticks together and all this other stuff, which is not ideal. They say that that's not the best way. Well, it probably isn't, but you tell that to our ancestors who did it for hundreds of years. So, I mean, it always goes back to the relevancy, and what works for one guy may not work for somebody else. So I'm still arguing with myself over this steel. Why not change all of my personal knives that I use, like my skinning knives, my fillet knives, and neck knives, and all that, to stainless steel? Because it holds a very good edge. It's easy to maintain. I mean, just a few licks on a sharpening rock in the evening, and it's right back hair popping sharp, or my sharp anyway, which is not necessarily shave, but it'll cut just about anything you want to cut. But the only thing that's holding me back is time, for one thing. And the other thing is, you got to have carbon. You must have carbon steel. You can't use stainless steel. That's just like you can't use a skinning knife for bushcraft. Well, you tell that to our ancestors. They used a belt knife for just about everything, and it was a skinning knife, a camp knife. So, don't tell a man he can't do something and interrupt him as he's doing it. What a good saying. Just because it don't work for you don't mean it don't work for the next guy. Another one of my favorite sayings is, axes are too dangerous. You can't use axes. Hurt yourself. Well, you tell that to the man who's used an axe all his life. Depends on what you train for. Depends on what you're used to using. So, the next time somebody tells you that you can't do something, tell them thank you, but go ahead and do it anyway. I'm not saying that you shouldn't take what those that are experienced in that field is recommending, but take those recommendations with a grain of salt. Their experiences are not the same as yours. Their environment is probably not the same as yours. Their talents are not the same as yours. You're completely different people. Maybe you can try their way for a little while until you get familiar with it. And then get your own style. Learn a better way of doing things. Teach somebody else that better way of doing things. Let them experiment. But don't hinder those people who's trying to reinvent the wheel, because they just may reinvent the wheel. They may figure out a better way of doing things. So let them play around, let them experiment, let them use different tools for different things. Let them enjoy this passion of ours without telling them don't, you can't. So until the next one, you guys be safe. Get out in the backyard, whittle on a stick. Enjoy life. Practice those things that someone told you can't do. If you do, take plenty of Band-Aids and lots of knives. We'll catch you again soon.